Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Kaylee of Kaylee Plans, and today I'm going to be showing how I'm going to attach the Traveler's Company brass plates to the front of my Traveler's notebook here. So the items that we're gonna need to be able to do this craft are a pair of scissors, an awl or a pokey device, something to keep your pokey device from ruining your surface. So I have a cutting board here, or a cutting mat here, the brass plate obviously, a needle, and the thread of your choice. Now I am doing the Traveler's Company camel color here, and I decided to match my thread color to the elastic color. So if you're interested in what that color is, it is the color 975 in the DMC embroidery thread. So a skein of this is less than $1, so you guys could definitely pick that up if you want to match your thread exactly. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna want to do is mess around with the placement of your plate. See where you want to put it on your agenda cover. Okay, and once you're happy with your placement, I kind of recommend using a ruler to make sure that your plate is going to be evenly spaced all the way across, as well as along the side here. And then using a needle, you're just going to poke where it lines up. So you're just going to make a little mark into the leather where that perfectly level area is on the cover. Okay, so as you can see, it's very faint, but right here by my nail, there is a little mark there from where I marked into the leather. Okay, and then you're just gonna lay your agenda cover open so you don't poke the other side. That's very important. And you're just gonna literally poke all the way through your agenda cover using your awl. So some tips to doing this: you want to make sure when you're selecting your needle that it is small enough to fit through the eye of the brass plate here. So if you take a look, the eye of the plate is actually not very big, it's very tiny. So you want to make sure you have a needle that'll pass through, but you want to go with kind of the largest size possible because you want to have a good stitch on there. You don't want to have a very weak stitch, and the thicker the thread is able to be, i.e. the fatter your needle, then the stronger the hole is going to, or the hold is going to be, I should say. Sorry, I got distracted by the motorcycle out there. So I kind of like the size of this one because it's a little bit smaller. I think the only size needle that I have might be too big, but let's try the next size up. Actually, this one passes through, so I'm going to use this one. I don't know what size needle it is, but it is an embroidery size needle, and it is one of the smaller ones, I would say, but it does pass through my plate here, so make sure that that works. And then when you are gouging your holes basically into the agenda cover there, you want to make sure that you don't want to make too big of a hole. You just want to make sure that it's big enough for your needle to pass through as well. So those are kind of some tips as far as choosing a needle and how big to make the hole with your awl. So I'm gonna do that off camera, like I said. Okay, so I'm gonna do the second hole with you guys on camera. I think I could avoid getting my head in the shot. So you're just gonna apply a decent amount of pressure, and you wanna wait till you hear the like pop, just like when you kind of hole punch paper. But you wanna make sure that you're not rocking it back and forth because that's gonna make the hole bigger than necessary. Now, obviously, you're not really gonna be able to tell on this side because of the plate, but you don't want a big gaping hole on the other side. So avoid rocking it back and forth as much as possible. You just wanna kind of puncture all the way through till you hear kind of the crunch, like I said. I don't know if you heard it. But once you have that, you want to make sure you come through the other side, because you'll hear it a few times before it actually goes all the way through. Okay, so on the inside now of the agenda, I'm just going to push through and line that up, push through, and now you can see the hole on either side there. Okay, so next we're gonna thread our needle, which I will show you if you've never done before, and if you've never used embroidery thread before, it is kind of important you pay attention, because there are just some tips and tricks that make using it a little bit easier. So when it comes to embroidery thread, the way that you're going to actually use it there are two tails. There's one that's a little bit more prominent, that sticks out a little bit, and then there's one that you kind of have to dig for and kind of look for. Now if you find yourself like looking for the end of it like this, you're choosing the wrong one. So, and that does matter because it'll knot up if you choose the wrong one. So I can't even find the wrong one, so we're gonna avoid it because it's the wrong one. But it's another tail just kind of tucked on the inside portion of the thread here. So what you do is kind of just hold the thread in your hand and give it a tug, and it'll unfold as you just pull, and it should be, as you see, very effortless. Now obviously I just pulled like way too much thread. You guys would probably only need to pull it once or twice to get about you know, you really don't want anything longer than a forearm's length of thread at a time. Now you are going to be doubling it over, but remember, we're not sewing anything like super long that we need a ton of thread. The longer your thread is, the more likely you are to get knots, so you actually want to use as short of a thread as possible. And then with embroidery thread, you want to use the sharpest scissors you have possible to give you a really clean cut, so that way it's easier to thread the needle through the eye of, or through, to easier to thread the thread through the eye of the needle. So that is how you kind of take the thread off of the skein. Now obviously, something that you might be wondering is, this thread is so fat and the needle is pretty small, like how do I get that through? And the answer is that you don't use all 6 strands. So you're gonna kind of size up your eye of your needle and just kind of see like how many strands should you have. You don't want to go too thin because we're holding something on, right? And this is like, it's got some pretty good weight to it, so you want to make sure it has a good hold. So I'm going to try to do 4 strands. So the way that you separate your strands is you kind of put a little like spit on your fingers here. Sounds gross, I know. But you're going to, using your finger or your nail, just kind of flatten the end there of your thread. So as you can see, I just literally flattened it out and using my spit to kind of help hold it down. And like after you do that, it stays pretty straight. And then you can pull 2 strands off of the end. So hope you guys can see this. So just pull the 2 strands there, and then you just separate. Now if the little tail at the bottom here starts to like knot up, just kind of do what I'm doing and straighten it out, because it's getting like curly. So you just want to straighten it out and just let it know everything's gonna be okay, and then you can pull the rest of it clear off. And now I have only 4 strands on my fatter piece here, and you could save this for something else obviously. And just using your spit again to get the end pretty straight and ready for threading. So grab your needle and you want to tilt your eyelet so it's facing your thread, which is flat. So if you just do it like that every time, I think people have a hard time just because they don't align the eye with the thread itself, and they try to force the thread into the eye. Do it the other way. The thread is the thing that's weaker, so you can control the eye of the needle a little bit more than the thread itself. So don't try and shove the thread through the eye of the needle. Just literally guide the needle head through the thread, and it's really easy once you do that. And then you're just gonna double it over. Okay, so you're going to get your two tails together, and now when you fold it in half, we have literally 8 threads if you think about it. So what you're gonna do to make a really easy knot is you're gonna use your non-dominant hand and hold the thread in your dominant hand, and you're going to kind of just like have this motion ready. So almost like a finger gun or whatever. And you're going to lay your thread across like the tip of your finger, and then you're going to just pinch it in between your fingers, right? And your thread around the back of your bottom, your index finger, and then up and under your thumb, but not letting go. You don't want to let it go. You just want to, or you could even hold it like this, honestly. It doesn't need to be straight like that. You could hold it like this and then just come back around, and then you're going to literally just go back and forth until you guide the knot over your finger, and it's gonna like look like this. And then all you have to do is hold on to the tail, and the knot's already made. At this point, it's already made. You just have to tighten it. So I like to just guide the knot all the way to as far back as possible. Now, if you knot it like higher up, that's totally fine. You can just cut any excess off, and it's like you took it all the way to the end with no problems there. But that's how you make a really easy knot with thread. Okay, and now you finally actually get to attach your plate to your agenda. So you're gonna start at the back and poke your way through, and as you can see, it just comes right through very cleanly. Okay, so I pulled it through all the way until my knot caught, and then I just thread the plate right through. Okay, and then once you have done that, you are going to push your needle back down through the hole and pull it through. Okay, so once you've come through the other side, you're just going to thread it through underneath the knot, like so, and then grab that little loop and pull tight, and that's how you're going to knot it off on the back. And then you'll just snip the excess. Okay, so I just trimmed all the little extra hairs, and you can see my 2 knots, my initial knot and then my second knot which tied it off. And then you are just going to repeat that on the other side. And there she is, fully attached. I think that the brown looks great. It's a perfect match. And the little knots on the other side. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll put the time codes in so you could skip to the parts if you don't need to watch everything. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.